my man got too familiar, and I ended up having to whip his ass, man, because, he would step across the line. Habitually, he's a habitual line stepper.
Oh, did you listen to look at our or notice our Juneteenth episode?
Not yet. Well, I'm
talking to Brent.
Okay,
You're with me.
Yeah, I'm midway through it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had fun making
I won
that.
the Maya Angelou Award. I love it.
I had fun making that one.
Good.
All right. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Habitual Line Steppers podcast.
Really?
I am Scrota.
This is what we're doing today? Aha, Mboo, the Rebel Alliance.
Hey, and then that guy over there.
I'm Electric Thunder.
Yeah, late to the party, name not pending. Radical Teddy and friends. To that point, happy Juneteenth, everybody.
Yay.
Well, you're going to listen to this on not Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Well,
But we're
also,
recording it
don't
on
forget,
Juneteenth.
all the new listeners that don't even know, HLS was Habitual Line Steppers. So we could start playing with it and be like, haters loving side notes.
Don't give it away. Don't give it away.
Happens like sundown.
Nah, but Brent, go ahead. Do your spiel. I wanted to just give it a try.
No, it was good. I like that one. What's wrong with that? That worked.
Oh, shit. Oh, wow.
Yep.
They like
Too late.
me.
It's in there. Yeah. Yeah.
What up?
It can't be a perfect intro.
It's been a while. I'm back on American soil.
Welcome back.
Oh, yeah. And now we're starting
Just
a
in
war
time
and
for-
stuff. Jeez.
Just in time for Juneteenth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So where were you?
Yay, America. I was actually in the motherland. I went back to Nigeria. I go to Nigeria every year and a half to 2 years. But this time I was fortunate enough to bring my family with me. I brought my wife and my 2 kids. My kids have never been to Nigeria before. And it was a hell of an experience. It was a very good trip. Every time we go to Nigeria, I don't know how it is for other people that are, from West Africa or different parts of Africa or the Caribbean. But every time I go home, I get very full off of culture, and I feel very charged. I feel like my Igbo-ness meter has skyrocketed, and I want to do something with all this Igbo energy.
Superman in the sun.
It's very refreshing. So my kids' batteries have been charged up for the first time. It was a dope ass trip. My son got malaria while we were out there, so that sucked. So we went to the pharmacy, got some malaria drugs for a couple of bucks, and waited it out. So my big concern was that with the malaria, he might have been like, yo, I hate this place.
I don't never want to go
Connection.
back. Last time I went there, I got sick.
Yeah, he definitely didn't like the malaria part, but he's like, yeah, I'll go back, but man, I just need to just double up on malaria drugs. I'm like, oh, that's what's up, man. They really enjoyed it, playing with their cousins. They met my cousin's kids. We were all over the place, man. We were in the village, we were in the city, we were in hotels, we were in the back alleys of Lagos, we were in Nigeria with checkpoint, the military people. It was great, man. I had a good time. It was dope. So I'm glad to be back, though.
I have so many questions. First off, I just heard you say double up on malaria drugs. Does it work like that? Can you preemptively take the malaria drugs to ward off malaria?
So there's a way to do it, which I didn't really investigate on because I was leaving. But apparently if you take the prophylaxis, you start taking it earlier before you leave. That's better. They say if you just get a bunch of them, take them 2 weeks, that helps. Kids' body chemistry apparently is very different. So, we all got bit by the same mosquitoes he did, but apparently he got it. Maybe because he was a kid. Apparently we're supposed to travel with malaria medication. So we got some extra malaria treatment medication, and we'll just pack that with us next time we go. If we start the prophylaxis early, and then at the first sign of malaria, pop that mug, it should take care of the parasite super early. So, but again, I'll have to know more about the details on the next trip. But I don't think I'm taking my kids back to Nigeria for another year and a half, 2 years.
But according to your timeline, it sounds like just the next time you go.
Yeah, but I'm super charged up right now. So I'm can I go in the next 8 months? Can I go in the next year or so?
Which leads to my next question when you said you feel like Super Igbo Man. And I'm like, what would he do?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm I got to find out the answer to that question. I got to do something. I'm thinking about maybe taking a title. I don't know. We'll have to
The
figure that
Super
out.
of the Dupa? Awesome.
But there's some specific titles that you could take in my culture, and I'm considering taking a title. So we'll see.
That would be
Something
awesome.
like fire warden or something like that you're going to take?
Fire safety
officer. My brother took a title earlier this year. I don't know if you saw the video.
We just cracked an
I
inside
saw the
joke.
video.
We got to bring the crowd along with us on this.
You don't got to explain it.
Okay.
Yeah, why not? Let them
because it just interrupted my story.
Hey, we'll get back to it. In
So,
Pell
tell 'em.
Divers,
Mm.
Scrota's title is Fire Safety Warden or something.
Fire safety
No,
officer,
fire
get it
safety
right.
officer.
Yeah. Fire Safety Officer. And he's so excited
Let me
about
tell you
a
something.
hell bomb that he has, which is just a huge freaking explosion that takes out everything. So he's so excited about that.
If you know anything about me in video games, I am not very technically gifted at most games. I can't aim, I can't drive, I can't fly. So I do damage by making things explode because it's hard to miss an explosion.
Takes
So,
full
yeah.
advantage of the fact that this is not reality. Caution be damned. And
Yeah.
friendly fire is run of the mill.
If Fire Marshal Bill were a character, that's my character in almost every game I play. Blow stuff
Shout
up.
out to Keenan Ivory Wayans and
Jim Carrey? Yeah.
shout out to Keenan Ivory Wayans for like having the foresight to be like, yeah, that dude, when everybody else supposedly passed.
Always trying to take credit away from the white man, dude. That was Jim Carrey's character, dude. Give that man his props, dude.
Yeah, but whose show brought it to
See, look at that. Look at that.
households?
Look at that. Look at that. Always trying
It's
to take the white man's
Juneteenth.
credit away. Always trying to
It's
take it away,
Juneteenth.
man.
They have
He earned it.
every
Can he
other
just
day.
have his credit? Please. So rarely do we get a chance to celebrate the accomplishments of these people. And as soon as somebody says something, here you come again. I'm on a
The
black
idiot.
man try to diminish his white greatness. What's wrong with you, bro? I expect more out of you than that.
That I don't know if you've watched enough of the Boondocks, but that was very Uncle Ruckus.
I've
No
watched all of
relation.
the Boondocks. So, side note, real quick, I'm drinking on Captain Coffee Stout. So, I've had like a couple of coffee based alcohols, beers, and like whiskeys and stuff before. And like 3 of them were bomb, but I don't know the names of them. I have a bad habit of not paying attention, like the places I go or like the things I eat until after the fact. And I've been chasing this unicorn for like ever. So I've always buy like these coffee based beers or like whiskeys and stuff because I'm trying to find not the same one, but I'm trying to find a good one to drink. And time after time, I get disappointed. This tastes like old stale urine from like a porno theater with a broken AC. This shit is horrible.
Good Lord. What a
He said,
description.
taking another sip.
It's beer. I'm not gonna waste it. It barely tastes like coffee and it barely tastes like beer. It does taste like stout though. So, yep, another failure.
I'm on the outside looking in, so like for me, beer always smells like urine, and I'm just like, how did this catch on?
Oh, it's easy. It makes you drunk. That's how.
So many things make you drunk. I mean, go back to like Greco-Roman, them like, and then he had this with some wine. It's like everything else said was wine. Is there any other beverage out there right now? Because all I ever hear about is wine from y'all. And it's like, when did beer take over?
Ale. They
In the
drink
comment-
ale.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. In the comments, feel free to leave your historical dissertation about the president.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I have a dish that I love eating in Nigeria. I mostly eat it back in the East where I'm from, but they also serve it in the West if you go to the right places that make more Eastern food. It's called isiewu. Isi means head. Ewu is goat. It's a goat head. And it is so good. But when I say goat head, it's a plate of goat head. It almost never completely agrees with my stomach. But I don't care because it's so good. It's so good. But I usually have ICO with palm wine, which is wine that's a little secretion from the palm tree, and it ferments super fast, and like some granuts, which is what we call peanuts, and like a little bit of stout. And I didn't get a chance to do this time because I just completely forgot about granite because I was palm wine because I was trying to.
When were you first introduced to this goat head? You say,
I've heard about it a lot, like when I was younger. So the first time I went to Nigeria in 1998, I was like, I'm eating some ECA with my grandmother, RIP. She gave me some, and it was amazing. And I was like, okay, I'm in. And there's a part that looks like an eyeball, and it's like, that looks like an eyeball. And then everyone's like,
Grandma's steak cooking. I feel bad for anybody whose grandma can't throw down because that just must be like a complete disappointment because you have to go to grandma's house at some point and eat like once in life.
I think that grandma and mom's food being the best has nothing to do with their ability to cook.
Nah, there are
I think that
definitely some
has
cooks that
everything
like
to
my
do
mom.
with learned bias. Because you've had lots of food before. Now, if you take your mom's cooking or your grandmom's cooking and you put it on a plate with like other people who cook well, and you
Right.
give it to other people who are not your grandparents, grandchildren, or mother's children, are they going to
Yes.
pick your mother's food unanimously? The answer is no. And the answer is definitely no, because everyone says their mom cooks the best, which can't be true.
It's not true.
You know, this
I don't.
happens. This experiment that you just explained happens every Sunday afternoon after church, because that's all who's mainly doing the cooking. Like is the grandmas and the elder moms all make their dishes. They all serve it for the congregation. And inevitably, it just becomes known like, oh, yeah, you know, Miss Betty's cooking. So I'm sure there's someone out there who would say like, oh, yeah, no, my mom's that mom. And then
What is
there's, of course, somebody's mom who's like, which is, y'all already know where I'm going with this. Somebody's mom who
is the loser, and we just don't talk
cannot
about
be
it.
trusted culinary.
So you don't
Which
hear
is
about
why
it
we
much.
have the question, who made the potato salad? Or who made,
Who
you
made
know,
this?
XYZ?
Who
dish?
made this?
Yeah. That's why we ask. So, yeah.
Yeah.
For everybody who's listening, I took a video of me eating isieu. What does this look like? What does that look like?
Like goat ear?
That's an ear.
That's safe.
And that is a
eyeball.
That's an eyeball. That's an orbital bone. That's the eye socket.
Okay.
People often ask me, what does eye taste like?
I assume that sauce that's all over it is amazing.
That shit is delicious, bro. People always ask me, what does the eyeball taste like? And the answer I give them is one of two answers, or both. I say it tastes exactly what you think it tastes like. Exactly whatever you're thinking right now, you're right. And then two is you chew it and it's tough, and then all of a sudden it's not tough anymore.
Okay. That is
it's
exactly
tough,
what I expected.
and then it's the opposite of tough. You're like, oh. The first time I ate it, I was like, what's this? I thought it was like a gizzard or something, because I wasn't really paying attention to anatomy. I was just chomping down because that sauce bomb.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, pretty sure that's an eye I just ate.
Right.
It doesn't taste bad. Honestly, that sauce is so rich. So
I haven't
so
eaten
good.
gizzard in years, and gizzard is delicious.
I don't understand people who don't like gizzard. Like, what's wrong with you?
It's very tart, so I can understand folks not liking gizzard. It is immaculately cooked, and yeah. You don't waste my time on the gizzard. Only after the rest of this is done. Go ahead.
In Nigeria, how do they look at like drinking and everything? Is it just like a normal thing, or is it frowned upon, like drinking alcohol?
In Nigeria, people mostly drink beer and wine. People who do drink normally drink beer and wine, is what I've been noticing. Drinking liquor is more of a very young, like, if you drink liquor, you're probably either a young 20-year-old person who's like a little like rebellious or whatever, or an old man. But it seems like drinking liquor regularly is like a frowned upon thing. I remember when I got married, I was like, yo, we need to make sure we have all kinds of liquor. And then my dad was like, no one drinks liquor. And I was like, wait a minute, I thought about it. Nobody drinks liquor. So we bought liquor for like my friends and my guests, but like all the Nigerian people that came, they don't really drink liquor like that.
So
like
what is
that.
It?
They drink liquor.
Is it wine or beer or
wine and beer?
Okay.
Wine and beer. You know, the old chiefs and stuff may have like a big ass bottle of Hennessy, and the Lolas, which are like, you know, the chief's wives, they might have like a bottle of Kahlua or something like that. But as far as like heavy drinking, I mean, like hard alcohol, that not really huge. And I think because it's not that common, if you do it, people look at you like, why are you drinking that? So I don't think there's a universal stigma for it, but like if you're drinking it, people will look at you and then try to fill in the gap, and it's probably not with, you know, something that's positive.
I like this. I feel like we're learning how to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
What are other cultural things that you've seen here that you also could see parallels of there, if not? Oh yeah. For instance, I've noticed when you and my wife get together, every now and then y'all say or do something, and it's like, oh yeah, like Dominicans do this, and like, oh yeah, Nigerians do this, and it's like, well, there's a reason why y'all both historically do the same thing. But how do you see like culture permeating through the world, having seeing the source of some of the things we do?
I think one of the things that I don't see in America that I think is just really common, but it's not that common in American culture, is hosting is a really big fucking deal. It's a really big deal.
Yeah.
Now, in American culture, from what I understand, people who do host, I'm thinking automatically of like, dinner parties and not Stepford wives, but like, trad wives or whatever. They take it very seriously. But as far as like the populace as a whole, hosting's not that big of a deal. It's more casual. Hey, come over to my place and hang out. But like in Nigeria, like culturally, there is a whole ass process of what happens when someone comes to your house, especially if you haven't seen them in a long time. And
Greeting every last person.
there's this tradition we have, and it's it kind of seemed like a burden when I was younger, but as I get older, it's much more common. And Rebel, you've seen this before, but there's a nut that we call a kola nut, and kola nut is a really important symbol in our culture. And before you can really do anything, you have to break the kola nut and pray over it. It's a little like micro ceremony. We call it iwaji. And it's a whole process. Essentially, it's like, hey, I'm breaking bread with you. If you watch Game of Thrones, it's like sharing salt and bread. So it's like, I'm breaking this with you. I eat it, you eat it. I don't die, right? So you know that you're amongst friends. And the way that you do it is you have to pray over it in Igbo. You can't do it in English because the kola doesn't hear English. And usually the oldest person that's there has to pray over it, break it, and then they give it to the youngest person. And then the youngest person distributes it amongst the guests in order of age and gender. So you go the oldest man all the way to the youngest, like eligible man. And then like you do the women as well too. I was like, that seems like very unnecessary. Sometimes it takes like 30 minutes because not everybody knows who's the oldest. But in doing that, you learn who's the oldest. You learn who's the youngest. You learn what birthday this person is. You learn what sign this person, well, our equivalence of signs of this person is. You learn a lot about the people in the room. It's like kind of like a forced name game. And for anybody who doesn't know the people, let's say everybody who's in the room already knows each other, but if there's a new person that comes in, that person can look and see and learn a lot about the guests that are there. So it serves like this big purpose that like, before we even get started, let's all make sure that we know each other so that we can enjoy whatever festivities we have. And there's just a lot of little things when it comes to just hosting and entertaining people that we take very seriously that is just normal to me. But when I go over to other people's places, they don't do those things. And it always feels very weird and not unwelcoming, but like, I've had warmer welcomes before, that's one thing. And I don't know if that constitutes, but.
Do you see bits of the culture like dissipating in the younger generations?
So Nigeria, so Igbo culture has a lot of roles, responsibility, and a lot of those are gender roles as well too. I think one of the things that has waned over time is the importance of female gender roles. The female gender roles actually have a pretty significant and important place within the culture. Females historically control the money, the market, and the market is one of the most important things in our culture, like literally the most important thing. But over time that, colonialism, time and, religion and stuff has like pushed the female role more so in the back burner than it was before. So a lot of times like women have a certain responsibility when it comes to like doing certain things because a lot of the important responsibilities and gender roles that females have traditionally have been stripped away over time. Then what's left is the more of the subservient part.
That's whack.
A lot of people in the newer generations don't want to do those things. So these are outdated traditions and yada, yada, yada. And I'm not saying that the Igbo culture was completely harmonious and stuff like that, but I just noticed some of those things. But for me, it's just like, how do we as a family entertain and help out a guest? How do we do that? And I think some people just aren't as well. I know this person. I don't need to do anything for them, But it's like, no. We have to make sure that this experience, the good
it's a sign of
experience.
respect.
Yeah, but I think that's one of the things that's kind of going away so much. A lot of the respect stuff is not as present as it was when I was growing up. And that kind of sucks. So when we went back to Nigeria, we realized just how much of that we weren't enforcing with our own kids. And we were like, damn, we got to do a better job. We have to do a better job because they were getting called out. My kids were getting called out a lot when we were there. And I was like, damn, okay, all right, do a better job.
Give us one example.
Every single person you see, you say good morning to or good evening or good afternoon. Every last one, without exception.
No.
Without exception.
Oh, no. That's so many people.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. No. People pass the boys, but they'll say, hey, good morning, boys. Good afternoon, boys. The boys will like nod or walk by. They will stop and be like, you can greet. And now I have to be like, yo, yeah, these are my two ragamuffin kids that I've raised horribly. Or be like,
oh, man,
why can't you greet him? Like I taught them, but they're just not listening now.
Oh, man.
It happens so much. So I told the boy, I'm like, yo, you can't just do this. You need to say what's up to everyone you see. And they're like, wait a minute, I thought I don't talk to strangers. It's like, okay, you're not like giving them your social or telling where your parents live. You're just saying good afternoon, sir. Good evening, sir. Just because that is what you just do. And they were like, I mean, I'll try. But it's so ingrained in them to not do that, that some people thought that that was a little rude when they weren't doing it. And I was like, damn, you know. For me, it's like a light switch. As soon as I get to Nigeria, I'm doing it to every single person. And when I get back here, I'll do it again for like a week or so until it wears off. But for them, no. For my wife, it just wasn't second nature.
I mean, even in the South, like, you know, we might pass somebody be like, how y'all doing? How y'all doing? It's like, we don't, it's rhetorical though. I don't need you to be like, well, today I'm feeling, it's like, whoa.
You know, it's rhetorical still. It's rhetorical still, but it is for every person, dude. Everyone. Sometimes I like, people say, how you doing? I'm like, well, actually, I'm a little stressed out today because you know what? Last just to see.
They didn't have enough salt on it. Yeah. Okay.
I need to learn how to make ECA with sauce because that's just so.
Has the missus been before? Or like
she hasn't been in a while, you know?
Okay.
Typically, like for people, you know, people in the diaspora, a lot of times we go to Nigeria, we go because there's some like death or something like that in the family, which just sucks because it builds that relationship. So we were like, no, we're just going to go to Nigeria. We're just going to go. Yeah, so there's no negative association.
Because exactly what you mentioned, like people normally leave the country to go back home because someone passed away.
Yeah.
Something morbid happening every time you go back.
Yeah.
So it's good that you went there on a good note.
There were a couple of highlights. If you ask my kids what their highlight was, we have a really big palm plantation back home. And my parents haven't been back to that part of Igbo land in a while, so they went to go check on the plantation. There was a lot of overgrowth. So we grabbed like 4 machetes and threw them in the car and then went out there to clear the brush that was like probably overgrown. And so my kid's like, I want to use it. I'm like, dude, no. So after we like kind of went into like, you know, the plantation, I said, you know what, here. And I found like some shrubs for them. And they were hacking stuff with a machete. It's hilarious how like just very simple things for kids can just be the world to them. And I know that that's like going to be one of their core memories. One of my core memories was cutting a coconut with my late aunt, you know. But I think one of the best moments for me personally, my wife's mother passed when she was very young. And the effects of that are just very prevalent in her life and her siblings as well too. Obviously, it's a major event, and I don't know how they have the strength to go on like that. It's foreign to me. We bury our dead in your father's or in your compound. So we don't bury people out here if you can. She was actually buried back home in Nigeria, in their village. And so every year for Mother's Day, I buy my wife a big bouquet of roses, but I also like 3 or 4 years ago started buying her mom one too. Because I want Mother's Day to be a happy day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you know, she's always very appreciative of that. It's like flowers are expensive, but that's not the point. And then when the petals fall down, we usually try to do something with the petals, like make rose water or like grind them up or, you know, make some potpourri. So Mother's Day just passed 2 weeks before we went, and the leaves were kind of starting to fall off. So shout out to my sister who helped me with this idea. I grabbed a bunch of the petals, and when we went to Nigeria, I realized that the gravesite's probably not going to be very kept or whatever. And even if it is, just going there and looking at it is going to be a really powerful moment. But I told us, hey, I brought your mom's roses and we can do something with them. The kids and her spent time and spread the petals on the grave, and we paid some respects. And it was just a really emotional scene because she was like, you guys finally got to meet my mom. And it was, it was really, geez, hold on. It was a lot, because I've never met her mom before. And she means so much to this family that it's amazing how much someone can mean even when they're not there and you've never met them. Her presence is very tangible in this family. And so it was a really powerful moment. I'm really glad that I could have the boys and their mom share that moment. So it was a good ass trip, dude. It's a real good trip. Yeah. A real good trip.
The other thing I heard you mention is y'all have your own signs. Like the zodiac signs here, y'all have your own signs? I didn't know that.
So similarly, now depending on how engrossed in Igbo tradition you are, right?
These are specifically Igbo signs, not even merged. Igbo,
it's not a sign, but there's 4 market days, right? The number 4 and the number 2 are really important numbers in our culture. The market is important, as I said before, but the day that you were born translates to an element, right? Every day has an element. There's 4 days of the week. Every day has an element, and it's believed that depending on what day you're born, then that's the kind of element you are. So Orie is the 2nd day of the week, and Orie is a sky sign. So typically Orie people are like big dreamers, people who like kind of reach for the sky kind of thing. Was the 3rd day of the week. And that's more of a ground sign. So the people are usually people that are a little bit more calm and like more. So there's different things associated with the day of the week that you're born on. And so it's kind of fun to say, well, what is your sign? Like me and Du are both Orie. We were born on Orie, as was my dad. And, it tracks, so if you believe it or not, it's that kind of thing. So that's what I meant. So the day of the week you were born on the Igbo calendar, it's supposed to align with certain personalities and certain traits and stuff like that.
So do you find that your Igbo sign, you agree with that, but do you also agree with the regular zodiac sign that most people are accustomed to or familiar with?
I don't really believe in zodiac sign stuff, mostly because I'm not, in order to give power to that kind of stuff, you have to believe in it. So I was born Catholic. I was raised Catholic. And Catholics believe in the Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit gives you certain powers and attributes and strengths and stuff. Like there's gifts of the Holy Spirit. If you believe in Catholicism and you believe in the catechism, then it's very believable that you'll believe that the Holy Spirit imbued this person with these sets of traits, right? But that belief in the Holy Spirit is tied to the Catholic religion. Zodiac is not necessarily tied to religion, but it's tied to cosmology. So are you a believer of that cosmology, right? I'm not. So then I don't believe in zodiac. If you're not Catholic, it's likely you don't believe in the gifts of the Holy Spirit. And unless I'm a practitioner of Odanani, I probably don't believe in the 4 market days and their spiritual, But if I'm a spiritual person, I might say I like a little bit of that and a little bit of this and a little bit of that because I'm giving meaning to it as opposed to the meaning being inherent. I hope I answered your question somewhere in there.
Like a Virgo.
I do find the zodiac fun though, right? I do think it's a fun thing to do. Just like, again, the 4 market days have their own association. So I think it's fun. I also think it's fun when it's wrong, I like telling people like, what's your sign? I'm like, guess my sign. They're like, you must be Cancer. And then I like laugh. It's not like, oh, you're stupid. It's a fun thing for me. I think people who take a lot of that stuff like super, super seriously probably just need to chill out. But if that's your belief, that's like your worldview and it's consistent, I guess I can respect that. But so many people, it's probably not.
There's probably some confirmation bias for a lot of folks.
Don't respect. So
awesome.
I hope that answered your question somewhere in there, Electric.
Okay.
Hey, you got called out by Brizzy B and Ketty Wap.
Oh, yeah, what'd they say?
They were like, Electric just props to him for bullshitting. That you're like, you know what? I said yes, but I wasn't listening.
I fessed up to it, though.
So TLDR, I don't really believe in Zodiac. Because I don't believe in the cosmology associated with it.
As long as you get Jesus.
So yeah, just like I wouldn't expect a Christian person to believe in the cosmology of like Islam, right?
I used to be really into the zodiac when I was like real young, like in my teenage years and early 20s. This girl.
What do you mean by
started teaching
really
me.
into it?
I used to know a lot about it.
Like interested or believing it?
Both. This girl, I met when I was a kid, she started teaching me about it, and I found it so interesting. I guess I found it interesting because, like, you're still discovering yourself as a teenager, and so I took a huge interest in it. Where, bro, I became so good at it, and I always had people come up to me and be like, "Yo, Jay, was this sign compatible with this or that? Tell me about this sign. What do you know about this?" And I'm like, "All right, let me break it down for you." But then later on, like, the girl started teaching me some more about it. And it's not just your main sun sign. There's a few other things, your rising sun. There's a whole lot to it. I always looked at it like it's based on constellations and where the planets are when you're born.
Yep.
So I started thinking a long time ago, I'm like, what if this is like a computer program? And then now, like, you see a lot of theories now about this being a simulation. So I kind of like thought about, maybe it is, and that's the program up there. The program is just running and it's all automated, and like when a new birth happens, it's assigned to these characteristics due to the constellations and the alignment of the planet. Not really. It's just interesting and
fun to think about.
Yeah, because we don't know it's so fascinating that we don't know crap about what really goes on, beyond our planet. Even within
it's so frustrating.
Explain that. What's frustrating about it?
So the universe is big, but like that's the visible universe. But someone's like, what's the visible universe? I was like, okay, well, like light only travels so fast, right? Everything in the universe is expanding away from itself. Everything is getting further and further apart, but it's getting further apart very fast, like faster than light. And so what happens is the stars that are in the distance, it takes a while for that light for us to see it. So we're seeing that star as it was like maybe thousands or millions of years ago. But there's stars that are so far apart that are moving so fast away from us that the light will never reach us because it's outpacing the speed of light. So think about that. There's this sphere around the universe that's called the visible universe. And that's all the light that we can see. But there's unknown amounts of shit outside of there that we will never know about. And that is depressing to me.
That's kind of like the end of Men in Black, where you see it like zoom out from Earth and then out through the universe and then out through whatever's beyond the universe. And then it's a marble and a huge alien just picks it up and puts it inside of a bag full of other marbles.
There is recent reason to believe that this universe may be contained inside of a black hole. It's been a hypothesis for a long time, but there's been new evidence, and I don't know exactly what it is right now, but there's been new evidence that would suggest that hypothesis is more plausible now, which is insanity to me.
What happens if we escape the black hole?
Then we emerge into another universe.
Yeah, exactly.
But we can't remember because tachyons don't exist, remember?
And can't escape black holes. And also, in theory, there's no, you wouldn't have more than one universe because that's not uni. So, multiverse. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, that's why it's just like it's like this big cruel joke. It's like there's so much stuff, but like you're never gonna see it. That's why I'm like, we need seed ships. All right, let me chill out before we have another space episode.
Well, while you're on the science, I thought you were going to delve into how the planets have shifted and then, the natural wobble of the Earth. Your Virgo.
I don't want to talk about that because that will be the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So no.
But yeah, bring it back to Earth. Electric. If you could go anywhere, where would you go?
If I could go anywhere,
or have you gone to the motherland? Like your motherland. Like
you come back with me.
Oh yeah. I've gone to Puerto Rico. My mother's motherland.
Duh.
So
why you say my mother's motherland instead of your motherland? It's literally your mother's land.
Because my father's father has a motherland.
Right.
So,
What's that?
I don't know, honestly. I don't know my father's family history too well, so I don't know where they're from.
But you know your mother's history, so that's literally your mother's land.
Yeah, because
Do
I
you
grew
not?
up with my mother.
Yeah, but do you not see your mother's land as your motherland? You said
Where are both of your
my
parents
mother's
from?
land.
Are both
Both
your
of my
parents?
parents are Nigerian.
There you go. My parents aren't. Both of my parents are from two different places.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that you referred to your mother's land
Mhm.
as her motherland,
Mhm.
not your motherland, even though that's literally your mother's land.
Yeah, but there's the colloquialism, the motherland,
No, I'm
which is
interested
also
in
his motherland.
Brent.
But
I'm
yes.
talking electric.
I see where
I want to know. I want to know what electric thinks about that because that's interesting to me.
Well, oh man, hot take, but I never felt like I fit in anywhere, bro. I'm mixed. Growing up, I didn't speak enough Spanish to feel Spanish. I don't look black enough to be black, and I definitely don't look Italian to be Italian, right? So those are all the things I'm made up of.
My parents are both from Nigeria. My parents are both from a town that is maybe 20 minutes away from each other. But when I go to Nigeria, I'm American. I'm not Nigerian.
Right.
They know I'm American immediately. They know my children are American. I don't speak the language, right? You speak more Spanish than I speak Igbo. I'm always viewed as an outsider. To me, I've always had issues of feeling Nigerian enough. And so living here in America, you've had to learn how to create this Nigerian identity as a Nigerian in diaspora. And it's hard because, sometimes people don't respect you or whatever.
What was that word you used? Diaspora?
Diaspora.
What does that mean?
It just means a person living outside of the main place, right?
Yeah, it's the spread of people from their original homeland.
Yeah. And so as a part of that, there's this inferiority that comes baked in with that. Like, oh, I'm not Nigerian enough. When a Nigerian approaches me, then it's like, oh, well, man, they're a real Nigerian. I'm not a real Nigerian. You know what I'm saying? Even though like I'm Nigerian, like I am. And it takes a while. It took a while. It literally seemed like 30 years to get comfortable enough with Nigeria to start going there more often. Because I didn't feel home. I didn't feel welcome. Now, when I went to Nigeria this last trip, my cousins, who I only started talking to within the last maybe 5 or 6 years, they all had an impression of me like, oh, this guy, he doesn't care about that. He's a white man. He's a white man,
Ooh.
And I knew that's what they thought about me.
Yeah,
But when they met me, they're like, oh, what up, man? And it took a while for them to break out of that. But it also took me being confident and secure with myself for me, like, F you, I am Nigerian. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need to prove myself to you or myself, When that happens, they're like, oh, okay. And they drop that BS facade. I was in Nigeria in my dad's house, and my uncle comes in, and he's like, I'm talking to him, he's smiling and stuff. And he stops and he turns to me. He's like, oh, so you remember you have people in Nigeria. And I was like, he was like, you don't call, you don't do nothing, blah, blah, blah. You don't even speak the language, Like he said, you will never be Nigerian so long as you do A, B, and C. You'll never be accepted. This is my uncle telling me this. I don't like this dude.
Right.
For reasons like this, because my only interactions with him have been negative. You know what I mean? And he's just going off. And yeah, first of all, I'm terrible at keeping contact with people in general. But there's like this insecurity that if I call you, you'll yell at me because I'm not Nigerian. You know what I'm saying? And that stuff's kind of difficult to beat because it's been ingrained with you at a young age. Now, granted, like he starts going off with my dad. My dad's like, yo, chill out. So my dad kind of puts him in this place. This is his younger brother because, he's been a little hypocritical for lots of reasons. The next day I'm over at his place and I meet his grandkids, my cousin's kids. They live in Nigeria in the east where the Igbo people are from.
Yeah.
They don't speak Igbo.
Oh,
They don't speak Igbo. My cousins, who I love and adore, right? He's never taken his kids to the village. I've taken my kids back home to the village before he did. And it's not an income thing. He just didn't do it. No, his kids don't speak Igbo. So a lot of the people that are making you feel negative and like not where you're coming from, they're just hypocrites. Listen, whether you feel Black or not, whether you feel Hispanic enough or not, that's still your motherland. Period. It still is. Now, that's still where you come from. That can't change, and no one should be able to take it away from you. So you just got to get to the point where you're comfortable and believe it, because it's so easy for people to make you always feel like that. These are people telling me that I'm a white Oyibo man. So the Oyibo man. I'm like, yo kids, you telling me that I'm not, because I'm like, yo, grandkids don't speak Igbo. So look, I get it, man. And just because both my parents are Nigerian doesn't mean that I don't have that same sense of not belonging and stuff like that, because people will always try to make you feel like an outsider if you are literally just located outside. You know what I'm saying?
But you do belong.
Of course, man, you do belong.
That's everywhere too, because what is his name? There's a comedian, Akash. I forget his last name.
Akash. Yeah, that guy.
Same.
Yeah, and I've heard him mention that a few times, like how back at home where he's from, they kind of look down upon him. They don't see him as Indian. They're like, you're American, you're not Indian.
Yeah, and over here the people call him a Muslim terrorist. It's like,
yeah,
exactly.
Where do I belong?
So it's funny, like how so many different people within different cultures have to go through that. Like once they're Americanized and they try to, reestablish themselves back from their origin country, they're more shut out. It's kind of like, oh no, your parents ostracized. There you go. So it's kind of like they're ostracized for their parents' decision in leaving the country and raising them somewhere else.
Of course. And that's rooted off of insecurity and jealousy.
Mm-hmm. We're going to have an insecurity.
When I first heard stuff like that.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And you being the person who knows there's that disparity and knows that you are privileged, you feel very guilty about it. So you let people talk to you like that.
Is there a name for
it's called, well, we call it, what's the word for it?
Like that feeling of feeling guilty, for your privilege. Do we have a name for that? I'm pretty sure that
yes.
I don't feel guilty for my privilege. I used to, but I don't. I weaponize my privilege, and I'm aware of my privilege and try to use my privilege for good things. But like I told my kids, so my kids were in Nigeria and they were like, yo, you're spoiled. And they're like, oh, I want to be spoiled, because they were being brats. And I was like, listen, there's nothing wrong with being spoiled. Nothing. What there is something wrong with being entitled and being ungrateful. You guys are spoiled, and I will continue to spoil you. But I'm trying to ensure that you guys are not entitled and ungrateful. And as long as you're doing that, then you can use your privilege. You can use your privilege to empower people, because ultimately we need privileged people to help underprivileged people. So,
these folks like benefiting off of nepotism and like getting put in positions. It's like, yo, somebody had to be there. Like, you took advantage of it. Now, we're not excusing nepotism, but just saying, like, somebody had to get there first in order for you to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
And to your point, full disclosure, my DNA test said I'm 51% Nigerian.
I could have told you that before you took that test, though.
We got about 15 minutes.
Electric, if you can go anywhere.
You gotta find a way to not be such a downer when you do that. It makes it feel so robotic.
I'm just giving you a timestamp. I don't know how to make that sound any better.
We're looking at it.
I saw the clock. I know.
We see the clock.
I don't know what you're looking at. My mind cannot comprehend what your eyes see.
Yeah, it's a downer.
Why is he always rushing y'all? I'm like, because he's the one who has to edit the episodes.
It makes it feel like, hey guys, we're on this job. We're gonna clock in and clock out. We're supposed to be just chilling.
You know what though? The way you said it that time, it actually made it sound like
no, I got stressed out by it. I'm not joking. I got stressed out by it. I'm like, dang, now I have to make it. Now I have to make the episode good. Uzondumiri na